Hi everyone, we have a 16 points to help you get ready for a big rapid prototyping event, workshop or sprint. This is the perfect checklist for you to have before you start that event, preferably a day or two before, so that you can get the most out of the event. Now, this rapid prototyping checklist is all about you being able to maximize your time with users, with prototypes, so you can validate your ideas at the fastest speed possible. So let's jump in. Okay, point number one, have you aligned the team on the business drivers and rationale for this product idea? So way too often, I see people getting together to build and to work on something, and they actually haven't really answered the why question. Why are we doing this? And a very good tool that you can use to answer that question is the Horizon framework. Are we trying to do Horizon 1 to defend the core business? Are we trying to do something a little bit more growth orientated, expansion orientated? That's Horizon 2. And Horizon 3 is all about transformative growth. Depending on the rationale and the strategy behind your product idea that you're going to test with rapid prototyping, the approach is going to be quite different if it's defensive or if it's transformative. So invaluable to have the alignment on this specific question before you jump into the prototyping. I've seen a lot of workshops come a bit undone because people actually don't agree on whether they're defending, growing, or transforming their business. Number two, now you love to get in front of customers, and you can actually do that before your rapid prototyping event. In fact, what you can do is you can actually do some surveys beforehand. And I really encourage this because surveying your customers before the workshop, before your rapid prototype, will help you really get some very good understanding of the baseline pains and gains, jobs to be done. And that will help you save a lot of time in your workshop, in your rapid prototyping event. Now, the other thing that this will do is if you go for a survey at scale, get 1, 2, 3, 400 people to answer your survey, you'll also kind of get a good sense of the broader market appetite for what you're working on. And so this can come back when you're working on the business side of things and trying to do what we call a TAM, your addressable market. You can really use some of this data there too. So that's number two. Number three of your rapid prototyping checklist is, have we defined the test user, including essential details such as age, income, business role. So regardless of whether it's a B2B or a B2C product, you should be able to put together a persona. You should be able to get a slide together that looks a lot like this one that I have here, where you have a very clear picture of behaviors, motivators, who the hell is the customer, who's going to use this product. Again, this is something very important to do beforehand. I would certainly be circulating this to all your participants in your design sprint or your rapid prototyping workshop before you start building. Get people on the same page. Who are we here to serve? All right. Checklist number 4. Have we recruited users for in-person testing? And here's the essential bit, confirmed their attendance on the given date and time. Too many times I see these events, people are a little bit loose on the recruitment of the users who are going to come and test the prototypes. So as a result, you get a lot of no-shows, you get all sorts of problems, and you really want to have a good variety and a good volume of testers, and here's why. Once you start testing with someone a number of times, they start to lack some impartiality. They get to know you a little too well. And so they sort of are tempted to tell you what you want to hear. So that's why you want to have lots of users to test with, keep them objective, and to keep the feedback crisp. Number 5 on your checklist. So you're about to do this huge event. You're going to get people prototyping. You've got designers, developers, your business owners, product owners. Really make sure you've booked a room. And the emphasis here is book an appropriate room. So as you can see in the image here, this is a workshop that I did in San Francisco. We had this enormous whiteboard along the edge of the room, and we could put up the entire idea and see it grow and see it morph and see it iterate over time. But also we had dedicated spaces for all the teams to prototype. So if you've got a small group of people, you don't need a large space, but make sure that it still has all the tools you need. A classic one is make sure it's got a monitor so you can actually hook stuff up. Also make sure that it's pretty accessible in terms of facilities and so forth. So don't just book a normal meeting room, book a purpose-built space that will help you prototype and design together. All right, number 6, have we arranged good internet access, food, beverages, and access to the restrooms? Now, key thing is I can't tell you it's 2023 and internet access is still an issue, particularly either one of two reasons. One, too many people on the same access point, so it gets really slow. Or two, you might be in a corporate environment or an enterprise environment. There's all sorts of... Have you arranged good internet access, food, beverages, access to restrooms, all of that good stuff? You really need all of this because I'll tell you why. Take internet, for example. Still here in 2023, I'm surprised at how often internet access is an issue, either because too many people are on the same internet hub, so it gets super slow, or alternately, you're in an enterprise environment and there's all sorts of procedures you need to go through to get access, and it's left till too late. So get all of those things out of the way, because really the big insight here is you got a whole lot of product related things to take care of and people things, the two big P's, people and product. So you need to pay attention to both. You can't just focus on the product. You got to focus on the people too, because there's going to be a lot of herding of the cats. Okay, number 7, have we briefed and trained executives participating in the prototyping event? Now, this is really key because for a number of prototypes, people really need to understand what you're trying to do. Actually, you'll find that you need to actually train people on how to prototype. And if you're interested in learning how to prototype, we actually just released a whole course on prototyping, so you can check that out at apolloadvisor.com. Now, the thing here is that you really want to make sure executives have been trained and briefed before the event. That way they can really process, onboard, and prepare. So when we come in, we're not spending important time, scarce time, getting people on the same page. We want people turning up being on the same page. And the best thing you can do is actually train people before the event, train them on what's to come, on how to prototype, and you'll go very far. All right, number 8, are the design challenges written and shared before the prototyping event? This is very specific to the product. This is the design challenge that you're giving to each of the participants. What are they got to build? For whom have they got to build it? What is the job to be done that we're solving? If we want people to, or end users to achieve a certain goal, to get a job done, be clear on that. Give as much of that information as possible beforehand so people once again can discuss, think through, work on, maybe do a little bit of research. The more prepared they are specifically to that challenge, the quicker you can jump into the prototyping. Okay, number 9, have we allocated time for packing in and preparing materials for the workshop? I would strongly suggest, if you can, go to your room or event space the day before, in the afternoon before, set it all up, whiteboards, stickies, all the materials, all the team areas, seating, all of that good stuff. Get it all set up the day before. So when you turn up in the morning, everything's there. You literally can welcome everybody, get them all fired up, get them excited, get them to launch into their prototyping. The worst thing would be is to have people milling around with nothing to do because they're waiting for the event to start and you're still setting up. Number 10. Now, this is really important because you're going to do lots of iterations, lots of prototypes throughout the course of a day. Hopefully, you're going to do up to 4 sprints of an hour each. Hopefully, that could translate into 30, 40, maybe 50 different tests. And what's really important is to think through the materials that you require to prototype with, and that you have all of your templates, all of your additional materials ready, whether they're digital or analog. Make sure that you have all of those things ready. I'll tell you why. You should think about how you might get as many tests done as possible, and having templates prepared even if you don't use them all, that's okay. What you want to have is, if it's digital, all your screens, buttons, content, all collected, ready to go, so that a lot of the changes you're making are smaller revisions rather than, hey, I got to build the whole screen, the whole navigation. Those things should already be done. And likewise, if you're in analog mode, paper, pencils, scissors, string, sticky tape, stickies, all of those things, have plenty of them for each of your teams so they can go as fast as possible. So you probably get the sense already from this checklist that time is of the essence. And that's why I'd really suggest having a run sheet, like a time to the minute based agenda like you see here on the right. This is number 11. Do we have a run sheet for the event? Now, this is crucial because if you give this to each of your teams, they can work to these agendas, and obviously you can facilitate them to that. What you do not want to do is create all sorts of indecision and uncertainty because people have either left the agenda open or people just don't know it. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Let people know what's expected and when, and you'll find that they'll get a lot more done in your session. Number 12. So this is the 12th of our 16 rapid prototyping checklist items. And this one is a big contender for the most important one of all, is during the workshop, do we have the 5 critical roles assigned? Now, in each team, you should have at least 5 people. Definitely don't want to go bigger than 10. And there are 5 key roles: the captain of the team, facilitator, designer, host, and scribe. Now, if you want to know more about what each of those have to do and why this works so well, check out our rapid prototyping course at apolloadvisor.com. Key thing here is you should be preparing people prior to the workshop that these roles are expected. And it's totally okay if it changes throughout the workshop, but to start, it's really helpful for a team to slot people into these roles, nominate people to participate in this way. It just means that you can get going quicker and easier. All right, this slide is the one that will save you. This is point 13 of our 16, heaven forbid, 16-point checklist. And the key thing is, do you have a copy of these 5 steps that you will experience throughout the workshop? Have you printed it out? Have you got it handy on a digital form as well? Understanding, ideating, deciding, building, and testing are the 5 states you're essentially going to be in when you're rapid prototype. Maybe you're trying to understand the user. Maybe you're trying to ideate on how to solve the problem, decide on which one you're going to build. Hey, then you build it and then you test it. These are all jobs to be done throughout the process. And the reason this really matters is we often get lost in all the excitement. And sometimes we might be building stuff and it's not working. And that means you need to go back a few steps. So this is like a critical map to where you should be. And it can be a good discussion point to get yourself out of, if you're blocked, if you're stuck. Often it's these 5 steps, going back to the start and moving through them. That is the answer. Number 14, did we capture our learnings in a central place? This one is really good, particularly when it comes to sharing and collaborating after the event. But I'll go you one more. You need your scribe in your team writing everything down, because you'll be moving so quick. Someone for sure is going to say, hey, we're in sprint 3. What was that idea that we had in sprint 1? And if nobody is writing this down, there's so much will have happened between those sprints, you're not going to be able to recall. And as a result, you might miss an opportunity. So make sure you have like a single source of truth for all of the things that you did and you learned. And it just makes it easier to capture all the inspiration that you have. Number 15, only 2 more to go. And this one's really, really critical, is we often get to the end of our rapid prototyping workshop, our design sprint, and everyone is exhausted or really excited, and we're done. Everybody leaves the space. Everybody heads off for a coffee, for a beer, or just to kind of relax at home. Whatever they're going to do, pretty quickly, they're going to forget things. Pretty quickly, someone is going to think, oh, where is the screen for that onboarding at step 3? And that's why this check is really important. Did we keep and save the digital and analog prototypes? So you want to have somebody nominated to make sure that all of these digital and analog prototypes are in one place and are easy to go through, to recall, and to find, so that when we're thinking about the product after the rapid prototyping event, it's really easy to go back and say, look, there's that onboarding screen. That's perfect. Let's build that. Last but certainly not least is after you have prototyped. This is check number 16. This is a big one. Do we have a planned learnings session for the core team? I strongly advise that even before the actual prototyping event is actually planned, that you have already booked in the schedule, preferably the following week, no later, that you've actually booked in the learning session. What did we learn about the product, about how we worked, and what do we think are the wisest and smartest next steps? Too often, those meetings are left way too late after the main event or not done at all. And often people all run off in separate directions after that. Bring everyone back together, ask those critical questions of what did we learn? How's this informing? How did we work together? It's like a sprint retrospective almost. Make sure you have that, because that'll enable you, with the benefit of a bit of hindsight and foresight, you'll be able to go, okay, here's what needs to happen next. All right, there you go. There are 16 big points that you should consider before your rapid prototyping event, before your design sprint or design challenge. This is an opportunity to make sure you extract the most out of the event, because if you really do it well, you will not only validate your ideas at hyperspeed, I think you'll find that all of your peers and colleagues and teammates are going to have a great time together, because they're working on solving a problem for the user. They're doing it in a collaborative way, and that is what we are all about here at the Apollo Academy. We'll catch you next time.